You'll kill yourself. That's not what I'm trying to do, he said. Did I fly down? Of course I did. I came with Lola. Nothing brings a couple together quite like a catastrophe. Et tu, Junior, he said when he saw me. Nothing worked. How incredibly short are 27 days. One evening, the Capitan and his friends stalked into the riverside, and Oscar stared at the man for a good 10 seconds, and then, his whole body shaking, he left. Didn't bother to call his driver, Díaz, jumped in the first taxi he could find. Once, in the parking lot of the riverside, he tried to kiss Yvonne again, and she turned away with her head, but not her body. Please don't, she said. 27 days. He wrote on each and every one of them, wrote almost 300 pages, if his letters are to be believed. Almost had it, too, he said to me one night on the phone, one of the few calls he made to us. What, I wanted to know, what do you almost have? You'll see, was all he would say. And then the expected happened. One night, he and his driver, Díaz, were driving back from the world-famous riverside, and they had to stop at a light, and that was where two men got into the cab with them. It was, of course, the Capitan's men, Gorilla Grodd and Solomon Grundy. Good to see you again, Grodd said. And then they beat him as best as they could, given the limited space inside of the cab. This time, Oscar did not cry when they drove him back to the cane fields. Safra would be here soon, and the cane had grown well and thick, and in places you could hear the stalks clack, clack, clacking against each other like triffids, and you could hear Creole voices lost in the night. The smell of the ripening cane was unforgettable, and there was a moon, a beautiful moon, and Díaz begged the men to spare Oscar, but they laughed. You should be worrying, Grodd said, about yourself. Oscar laughed a little too through his broken mouth. Don't worry, Díaz, he said. They are too late. Grodd disagreed, though. Actually, I would say we are just in time. They drove past a bus stop, and for a second Oscar imagined he saw his whole family getting on the guagua, even his poor dead abuelo and his poor dead abuela. And who is driving the bus but the mongoose? And who is the cobrador but the man without a face? But it was nothing but a fantasy, gone as soon as he blinked. And when the car stopped, Oscar sent telepathic messages to his mother. I love you, senora. To his deal, quit deal, and live. To his sister Lola, I'm sorry it happened. I will always love you. To all the women he had ever loved, Olga, Maritza, Anna, Jenny, Natalie, and all the ones whose names he had never known. And of course to Yvonne. They walked him into the cane field and then turned him around. He tried to stand bravely. They looked at Oscar and he looked at them, and then he started to speak. The words coming out like they belonged to someone else. His Spanish good for once. He told them that what they were doing was wrong, that they were going to take a great love out of the world. Love is a rare thing, easily confused with a million other things. And if anyone knew this to be true, it was him. He told them about Yvonne and the way that he loved her and how much they had risked, and that they had started to dream the same dreams and say the same words. He told them that it was only because of her love that he'd been able to do the things that he had done, the things that they could no longer stop. Told them that if they killed him, they would probably feel nothing, and their children would probably feel nothing neither. Not until they were old and weak, or about to be struck by a car, and then they would sense him waiting for them on the other side. And over there, he wouldn't be no fat boy, or dork, or kid no girl had ever loved. Over there, he would be a hero, an avenger. Because anything you can dream, he said, you can be. They waited respectfully for him to finish, and then they said, their faces slowly disappearing into the gloom, listen. We'll let you go if you tell us what fuego means in English. Fire, he blurted out, unable to help himself. Thank you.
For a few questions for Cathy and Junot. Intelligent questions, of course. Anyone have a question?
Oh yeah, we should probably stand up.
You MFA students out there, don't you have a question?
They should be busy writing.
Over here?
They waited respectfully for him to finish.
And I just wanted to know, when you're writing a piece or a story, do you tend to want to write in your own voice as much as possible, or do you want to make a different voice or a different character?
It's a good question. Look, it's a complete illusion that the way I sound and the way I write have a lot to do with each other. I mean, one of the strange things is try just to, write a story, and you'll see how incredibly difficult it is. Most of the time, you use something that remotely sounds like you as kind of window dressing for a deeper concern. Yeah, but the duplicating what you would think is an actual voice is the hardest thing in the world. It's like creating a special effect for a person. It's about as artificial as you can get, and it's a trick that it sounds realistic. So of course, sometimes I write from the voice of this alter ego character named Junior, and sometimes I write from other people's voices, and it all depends on what doesn't suck. Sometimes you just write shit, and that goes thrown away. Sometimes something works.
Okay, another.
When you were back in Rutgers and wherever you went to school, did you imagine that you would have this honor being here tonight and sharing your work?
Cathy, why don't you start?
No, I didn't. I mean, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was taking a writing class or two, but I think when I was writing in college, I always felt like a charlatan, like I was faking it. And I sort of still feel like that, I don't know, I still kind of feel like a fake. But, so yeah, no, and I had other kind of grand dreams, I wanted to be an artist. I went to a flaky liberal arts college, so I just was I'll temp for a few years and then I'll see where that leads me,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a weird question.
Not a weird question, it's a good question. The short answer is not. I went to Rutgers, state school boy. I worked full time when I got my education. Yeah, so I would go to work, I'd show up to my work in my metatarsals and my flame retardant greens, and I would sit in the fucking class and be like, these people are crazy. Because in my mind, I was coming from a completely, industrial work world. And so I would hear a lot of kind of stuff in classrooms, and I would just be like, yo, do these motherfuckers have jobs? Do any of these people actually try this language to normal people? And I think my head around this whole thing was that my dreams, my fantasies did not run so grandiose. Yeah? Again, it's one cannot express for a kid of illegal immigrants who did not come, I didn't go to private high school, I didn't go to a private or a select college. I worked my way through my entire college career, full goddamn time, summers and winter. I did not run with an artsy, intellectual, worldly set. And it is extraordinary the distance from that young man who used to be so openly scornful of a lot of the academic discourse to where I am now. The transformations that can await anybody in this world are beyond language. They're absolutely beyond language. I think if I had told my younger self at Rutgers.